Hello, friends. $500,000 sounds like a lot of money. And for most Americans, it represents years, sometimes decades, of disciplined saving, careful planning, and genuine sacrifice. But here is the question that most people never get a straight answer to before they retire. How long does it actually last? Not in theory, not under perfect market conditions with no surprises and everything going exactly according to plan, but in the real world, with real expenses, real inflation, real healthcare costs, and real life happening the way it always does. The answer is almost certainly different from what you have been told, and for a significant number of people who retire with $500,000, the real number is sobering enough that knowing it in advance, before the decision is already made, changes everything. Today I'm going to give you that honest answer, walk you through the 4 specific things that drain a $500,000 retirement account far faster than most people expect, and show you exactly what you can do about each one of them. And I need you to stay with me all the way through to the 3rd thing on that list, because that is the one almost nobody plans for, and it is the single biggest reason retirement accounts run dry 8 to 10 years earlier than the person who built them ever expected. Here is how this is going to work. I am going to start with the honest, plain English answer to how long $500,000 actually lasts depending on when you retire and how much you spend. Then I am going to walk through the 4 things that most financial articles leave out, the ones that quietly make the real number much shorter than the estimate. And then I'm going to show you the specific steps that can genuinely stretch $500,000 into a retirement that lasts, not just survive it. By the end of this video, you will know exactly where you stand and exactly what to do about it. Before we get into it, if you are not subscribed to this channel, please do that right now and turn on the bell. Here is why it genuinely matters. Retirement planning rules change every year. Withdrawal strategies, tax treatment of retirement accounts, Medicare costs, Social Security claiming rules, all of it shifts. And when it does, the people who have not been keeping up find out the hard way, usually after a decision that cannot be undone. What I do on this channel is take these changes and these numbers, break them down in plain English, and get that information to you before the damage is done. So hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and let us get into the real answer. So let us start with the honest answer, because the most common response to the question of how long $500,000 lasts in retirement is a number between 20 and 30 years. And while that range is technically accurate under certain assumptions, it leaves out almost everything that makes the difference between a retirement that lasts and one that does not. Here is the foundational framework. The most widely used rule in retirement planning is called the 4% rule. It comes from a landmark research study that tested portfolios across decades of market history, including some of the worst financial periods in American history, and found that if you withdraw 4% of your portfolio in the first year of retirement and then adjust that amount slightly each year for inflation, there is a strong probability your money lasts 30 years. 4% of $500,000 is $20,000 a year. That is $1,667 a month from your savings alone. For some people in some parts of the country with a modest lifestyle and no significant debt, that works. But for a great many people, it does not come close to covering actual expenses, which means the real withdrawal rate is higher and the real timeline is shorter. Let me give you the honest numbers by retirement age, because when you retire matters enormously. If you retire at 60 with $500,000 and you withdraw 5% a year, which is $25,000 annually, and you earn a modest return on your investments, that money lasts approximately 17 to 20 years, which means it runs out somewhere around age 77 to 80. The average American woman lives to 82. The average American man lives to 77, which means retiring at 60 with $500,000 and spending at a moderate rate is a real risk, not a remote one. If you retire at 65 and you withdraw 4%, which is the conservative rate, $20,000 a year, and your investments earn a reasonable average return, that money lasts closer to 25 to 30 years, taking you to roughly age 90 to 95. That is a much stronger position, and if you retire at 70 with $500,000, the math gets considerably more comfortable. Because you have fewer years to fund, you likely have full Social Security benefits, and your required withdrawal rate drops significantly. The point is simple. Every year earlier you retire, the pressure on that $500,000 increases dramatically, and the margin for error shrinks. Now here are the 4 things that the basic calculation almost never accounts for, and that are the real reason retirement accounts run dry before people expect them to. The first is inflation, and I want to be specific about why this is more dangerous than most people realize. The cost of living in retirement does not stay the same. Even at a modest inflation rate of 3% per year, the $20,000 you spend in year 1 of retirement costs $24,300 to buy the exact same things in year 8. In year 20, that same lifestyle costs $36,000. In year 30, it costs $48,000. Your savings have to keep up not just with your current expenses, but with a price level that is quietly rising every single year for every year of your retirement. If your investments are not growing fast enough to outpace that inflation, the real purchasing power of your $500,000 is shrinking even while the number on your statement looks stable. This is one of the most underestimated forces in all of retirement planning, and it is one of the main reasons people who thought they had enough find themselves cutting back 10 or 15 years in. The second thing the calculation leaves out is taxes, and specifically the taxes on retirement account withdrawals. The majority of Americans retire with most of their savings in a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k. Every dollar you take out of those accounts is taxed as ordinary income in the year you take it. That means your $500,000 is not really $500,000 of spending power. It is $500,000 before the IRS takes its share. If your effective tax rate on withdrawals is 20%, your $500,000 is really $400,000 of actual spending money. That changes the timeline materially, and it is a number that almost no simple retirement calculator builds in automatically. The way you structure your withdrawals, which accounts you pull from first, and in what order, can make a difference of years in how long your money lasts, and it is one of the most important conversations to have with a qualified financial professional before you retire, not after. The third thing, the one I told you to wait for, is healthcare costs, and the numbers here are genuinely alarming. Fidelity estimates that a 65-year-old couple retiring today will need approximately $315,000 just for healthcare expenses in retirement, and that is on top of everything else they spend. That is not an emergency number. That is the baseline expected cost for an average healthy couple, covering Medicare premiums, out-of-pocket costs, dental, vision, and long-term care needs. For someone retiring at 60, before Medicare even begins at 65, the situation is even more difficult because you have to fund private health insurance for 5 years on your own, which can easily run $1,500 to $2,000 a month per person. That is $18,000 to $24,000 a year just for health coverage before a single medical expense. For a person with $500,000 who retires at 60 and spends $18,000 a year on health insurance alone, that is $18,000 of their estimated $20,000 annual budget before they have bought a single meal or paid a single utility bill. Healthcare is the single biggest financial wildcard in retirement. It almost always costs more than people planned, and it arrives whether you are ready or not. The fourth thing is what financial professionals call sequence of returns risk, and while the name sounds technical, the concept is critical and genuinely straightforward. If the stock market drops significantly in the first few years of your retirement while you are simultaneously withdrawing money from your portfolio to live on, the damage to your long-term balance is far worse than if that same drop happened later. Here's a simple example. Imagine two people both retire with $500,000. One of them experiences strong market returns in the first 5 years and poor returns later. The other experiences poor returns in the first 5 years and strong returns later. Even if the average return over 30 years is identical for both of them, the one who had the poor returns early will very likely run out of money years before the one who had the strong returns early. This is because when the market drops and you are withdrawing at the same time, you are selling investments at a low price and permanently reducing the number of shares that are available to recover when the market comes back. Retiring right before a significant market downturn, which by definition you cannot predict, can shorten the life of a $500,000 portfolio by 5 to 10 years. This is why having a strategy that does not require selling investments during a downturn, which means having other sources of income or cash reserves for the first several years, is one of the most important structural decisions in retirement planning. Now here is the piece of information that changes the entire calculation for most people, and that is Social Security. If you are eligible for Social Security, those benefits function as a guaranteed income floor that you cannot outlive, and they dramatically reduce the pressure on your $500,000. The average Social Security check in 2026 is approximately $1,900 a month, or about $22,800 a year. For a married couple where both spouses are eligible, that can be $35,000 to $45,000 a year or more in combined benefits. Think about what that does to the math. If your living expenses are $4,000 a month and Social Security covers $1,900 of that, you only need to pull about $2,500 a month from your savings, which is $30,000 a year. At that withdrawal rate, $500,000 invested in a balanced portfolio can last well over 20 years and may never run out at all. But here is the critical piece. Claiming Social Security at 62 instead of waiting until 70 can reduce your monthly check by 30 to 40% permanently. On a $2,000 benefit, claiming at 62 instead of 70 costs you $600 to $800 every month for the rest of your life. For someone with $500,000 in savings, delaying Social Security even 2 or 3 years can add years to how long the overall retirement plan lasts, because every year you delay is a year your savings do not have to carry the full load. So here is exactly what the honest picture looks like when you put it all together, and what you can actually do about it. If you retire at 65 with $500,000, take Social Security at 67, keep your withdrawal rate at or below 4% from savings, maintain a balanced investment portfolio, and plan specifically for healthcare costs, $500,000 has a realistic chance of lasting 25 to 30 years or more. That covers most retirements comfortably. But if you retire at 60, withdraw at 5 or 6% because you need the money, claim Social Security early to supplement your income, and have not specifically planned for healthcare and inflation, $500,000 may last 12 to 17 years, which means it is gone before you turn 75 or 80. The difference between those two outcomes is not luck. It is specific decisions made at specific moments, and almost all of them can be made better with the right information. So here's your practical checklist. First, know your real withdrawal rate. Take your total expected annual expenses and subtract every guaranteed income source you have: Social Security, a pension, rental income, anything that arrives regardless of the market. What is left is the amount you need from savings. Divide that by 500,000. That percentage is your real withdrawal rate, and if it is above 4 or 5%, you need to either reduce expenses, delay retirement, or delay Social Security to bring it down. Second, plan for healthcare explicitly. Do not leave it as a line in a general budget. Know exactly what your coverage will be, exactly what it will cost, and exactly what your out-of-pocket maximum is for each year between now and the day Medicare covers everything. Third, build a cash buffer. Having 1 to 2 years of living expenses in cash or very stable, liquid investments means that if the market drops in your first years of retirement, you can live on that buffer instead of selling investments at a loss. Fourth, talk to a qualified financial advisor specifically about the order in which you withdraw from your accounts, because the sequence matters for taxes, and getting it wrong can cost you years of portfolio life. One final thing, and it is important. I am not a financial advisor, and everything in this video is general information, not personalized advice for your specific situation. The right answer for you depends on your age, your health, your expenses, your other income sources, and a dozen other factors that are unique to your life. So please, before you make any major retirement decision, talk to a qualified professional who can look at your actual numbers. But the honest picture I have given you today is real, the risks are real, and the decisions that change the outcome are available to you right now. Subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell so that you find out about these updates before the deadline passes. And please share this video with someone you know who is approaching retirement. You may be giving them information that changes the most important financial decision of their life. I will see you in the next one.